Hey, it's Matt here. So today's the day after Anzac Day, and yesterday I streamed a lot of content regarding whistleblowing, regarding David McBride, who in my mind is one of Australia's greatest Anzac legends and a man who I want to be putting into the Order of Australia at some point. So I'm going to discuss my experience working with corruption in systems, and I call this a lot of my experience is the result of the Americanization of our culture. And a lot of McBride's experience has been the result of the Americanization of our military, and we have both experienced the corruption of our intelligence services as a result of the Five Eyes initiative. So, our military is not our own. The way our society works, our military works, is that we're really directed by the United States through a intelligence sharing agreement called Five Eyes. Five Eyes is a partnership which was put in stone after, well, a little bit after the Second World War. We first had NATO, and then we had Five Eyes, and the it what happens is that you've got all these people trading information with each other. But the thing is that intelligence isn't just sharing information. There's planning and there's coordination. So, for example, in Australia, we're developing our cryptography capabilities at the moment. They've always been okay, but they're not at the same level as the US. So, if there's information that we can't decrypt, which is very heavily encrypted, we send it to the United States, they do it, and they send us it back decrypted. That's one example of it. It also works its way into a lot of different programs we have, um, and a lot of our other initiatives, because the first war that exists is the intelligence war. There's a lot of conflict which occurs long before we end up in a situation where there are boots on the ground. There's cyber attacks, there's information and disinformation, there's studying the enemy, all those things happen first. And there's also false flag operations. So Australia has been involved in three wars led by the United States, which have all been complete travesties. Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan. Most recently in Iraq, we were directed to fight there because we were told that the Iraqis had weapons of mass destruction. There was a very famous briefing where a bloke said that every nation with an active intelligence program knew that they had weapons of mass destruction, and that was just complete bogus. And that's because it was a false flag operation. It's where you say you're doing something in the name of something else, or you hit it to say that it's being done in the name of a different state, or you come up with some false intelligence or misleading information to justify an operation. And that's what Iraq was. Uh, but there's something more sinister which goes on with this Americanization, and I know this from our healthcare system. I'm going to return to my expertise, which is healthcare. I'm going to describe healthcare in Australia, healthcare in the United States. Millions of Americans die each year because of their oligarchy, because of their plutocracy, and because of the control of private interests over their healthcare system. They have pharmaceutical companies who pay millions of dollars to politicians in lobbying to ensure that Americans are never able to receive public health care. It's not just the pharmaceutical companies who want to be able to charge a ridiculous price. In Australia, what we do is that we have regulations on how much drugs can be charged for, and by doing this, we ensure that the life and death, because remember, people will pay anything not to die, cannot be exploited. So the vulnerable people don't have to go bankrupt because of some fluke of disease which happens to them at random. That's not the case in the United States. So they're insurance companies, they're healthcare insurance companies who want to be able to profit off death. They spend millions of dollars lobbying the government, and their pharmaceutical companies do the same thing. We don't have this problem so much in Australia. Well, at least we didn't until we came across the issues that I found in the NDIS, where we had these private companies who were doing horrific things to price gouge vulnerable people. Remember, I was running a complex case service as an Uber service. It was like if we had an Uber police service. I was working with people in potentially life and death situations as a very junior psychologist without my management knowing what was going on because they were in a different city and had no contact, they had no boots on the ground, they had no training in it. I was working for a child psychology company. That was negligence, and that was a result of the Americanization of our healthcare system. Now, the Americans are a victim to the military industrial complex. They have these very big, very large military companies, such as Lockheed Martin, um, such as, like all these different ones. And they also spend millions of dollars on lobbying, and they need to be at war, and they need to justify selling them big, expensive toys to keep this process running. Now, this isn't the only reason why we have a lot of money in defense. We have complex geopolitical problems, and that means that defense forces are necessary. There is not just one variable here. The military industrial complex is not the only reason why we end up in these shitty wars.